There it is, we're finally going on home. One of the things I'm discovering about retirement is that I'm not in as much of a hurry when I travel. When I was working, I almost always flew. I mean, that was just the only other way to do it. But now that I'm retired, I'm not quite as pressed for time, and that opens the door to experimenting with slower ways of getting around. So on this trip, my wife and I decided to go from Vientiane to Bangkok by train. She needed to return to have the second part of her tooth repair done. And besides, she doesn't like to fly anyway and actually prefers the train. But she can sleep anywhere. I can't. We did the trip last year, but it was rushed and while I was working, so at a time of a lot of stress and limitations in my schedule. So it was difficult to really try and enjoy it, and largely because both ways I just couldn't sleep. And honestly, I wasn't sure if this would be a relaxing time or just another very uncomfortable trip. We also are interested in looking at cheaper travel options because now we're on a budget and with no new income coming in. So in this video, I'm going to show you the route that we took from Vientiane to the border and then from the border to Bangkok. And then I will discuss the cost to travel this way over land with the cost comparison to the alternative of flying at the end of this video, along with my opinion on which I prefer. So, was it worth it? One of the nice things about living here in Vientiane is how close it is to Thailand. The border crossing is very straightforward and usually doesn't take long, especially if you only go over by foot. There are several options to get to the border. If you don't have your own car, the bus system is in town, can take you, very cheap, but you'll have to look into that to see what the schedule is and the actual cost. Or you can get a taxi for roughly $15 to $20 that will drop you off right at the immigration center. We left home in Vientiane around 4:30 in the afternoon on a Friday during rush hour and drove about 25 minutes to the border. First up Route 13 and then we turned right onto Route 430 to the end. Then we took another right as we come into the immigration turn, you'll see the big arches on the right. You will see a entrance to go into parking. You stop, you pay the guy 50,000 keep for per day. You pay 1 day, and then when you leave, you'll pay the balance for however many days you park.
อันมามันค้านตอนเช้าเท่าไหร่วะมาจังจ่ายป่ะอันบ่ได้จ่ายอันนั้นเลยป่ะโอเคเท่าไหร่943ตัว
อะไร
ไปจอดอยู่ในกล้องนั่นเนาะ
We drove up to the end of the open air parking, turned right, and went down into the closed parking because we were going to be there for several days. We're coming up out of the parking area, and you got all these little vendors here. And then you'll come into the open air parking right in front of the immigration center. This is basically 1 day parking, so you can either be dropped off or picked up. And as we're walking up into the actual building, there's going to be a lot of people there. You're going to be accosted probably for people who will want to carry your bags, or there will be options for people offering you to take their taxi across the border. It's faster, but it's a lot more expensive than if you just take the bus, or I think you can actually walk. But you can actually have people fill out your forms too. Now I'm going to go get my visa stamp, passport stamp, and normally it should cost about 18,000 key. Pretty simple. So we just came through the immigration and that was a little confusing. The woman didn't stamp my passport, but she didn't take any money. And then there was a machine that I'm not sure what we're supposed to do. No one would help us because normally you'd pay like 18,000 keep here at the border. Now we're here buying a bus ticket, which I think is 18,000 keep or 30 baht. It's just a little under $1. So these are all the people waiting to get on board. Da's getting our tickets. But yeah, over there's the casino. I'm not sure how you get into the casino. So now we're just going to wait for the bus to take us across. But from the time we left our house till now, it's about an hour. And probably 10-15 minutes of it was sitting in traffic. So here we are getting on the bus. Again, everything is a fight, elbowing everybody even though you cannot go anywhere until everybody's on anyway. Everybody just elbowing each other. Wait until the bus tickets were all sold out, and you can tell that it's sitting and standing room only. They pack us in there, and if you have a lot of bags, you're kind of screwed. You got to manage yourself. So we ended up taking off, starting, and then we ended up stopping shortly before the bridge. We didn't know why. We were sitting there for about 10 minutes and then noticed that there was a train in the distance. So there must have been a train crossing over the road or over the bridge. So we waited another 10 minutes and then finally took off. Nobody told us what was happening. And then we just crossed the Mekong River that you see us passing through now. It takes 5 minutes to get cross over. And in Laos, we drive on the right side of the road, and on Thailand, we drive on the left side of the road. So at some point, right before you get to the bridge, we cross over to the drive on the other side of the road. So you can know it's kind of awkward, and if you've never done it before, you need to be very careful, or you're going to be in some headlong traffic. So we're officially in Thailand now. And over there's the chaos if you want to try and drive through. A lot like to go to Nong Khai across the border when on the weekends. Even in the evenings. They go for a night, they like to go for KFC. They take a stock of KFC back to the... I don't understand why, because Laos makes pretty good fried chicken. There's something about the KFC. I gotta turn my camera off. So now we are through the customs. I accidentally went to the Thai line and they kicked me out of the line. So make sure you go to the non-Thai line. Even if there's nobody there, they won't take you through that line. And the other thing is, don't forget to take some hand sanitizer because you have to use the biometrics, the finger scan. And from the looks of it, on the bus, half the people had their fingers in their nose, or around their nose and in their mouths and who knows where else. And if statistics show work for me, every time I'm in the bathroom, at minimum 60% of the guys don't wash their hands. So make sure you bring your sanitizer because after you do the biometrics, because you can imagine. So we have about 2 hours until the train. We decided we're gonna go to the local shopping center, Nong Khai, the Lotus. They have a couple places to eat, and so we paid a Tuk Tuk. It's 100 baht to take us to the shopping center because there's really nothing. If we go to the train station, the only thing they have there is a little convenience store. Not much of anything to do there, and so it'll be just a little more comfortable. So 100 baht to get to the Nong Khai Lotus. And probably get a sandwich or something to eat. I feel a little hungry again already. But yeah, 100 baht for this. You know, it's funny when you drive across the border with a vehicle, a Lao vehicle, the police up here, they stop you all the time. And they get many people without the seatbelt on in the back. Everybody forgets about the seatbelt in the back. And then you get in these tuk-tuks, and you just wonder, how dangerous are these? There's no seatbelt, there's no protection, even the motorbikes. So, it's a bit of a sham, if you ask me. And they charge you 500 baht penalty fee, fine. So we finally arrived at Nong Khai. Took about 5 minutes, almost 10 minutes. It's a Friday night, not much traffic. I was surprised. This is usually the hot spot, the local hangout. Upstairs is a bunch of arcade stuff. But yeah, we gotta get something to eat here. A lot of cheap clothing kiosk here. And then here's the food court. So for the sake of time, we came in here to KFC. We do not eat like this normally, like one in a million years. So I got this small assortment of chicken pieces, 139 baht. So that's probably $5, I think, for this. So we ate our disgusting KFC, and Now we have a Tuk Tuk to take us back to the station, train station. It's probably about 10 minutes. So here we just arrived at the Nong Khai station. Took 5 minutes. 5 minutes from the.
Put internet over there, okay?
Why? What's over there?
Huh?
They have a 7 over there.
No, they don't have, but somebody do that over there.
Okay. Looks like there's a little food market over here. The trip from Nong Khai down to Bangkok takes roughly 11 hours. This is where the train leaves for Bangkok, which is about 600 kilometers away. And you will pass through several provinces in northeastern Thailand. So again, it's not the fastest way to travel, but that's kind of the point in what we're doing here. When you have time to slow down a bit, the trip can become an experience rather than just the means to get somewhere, which is what we're going for in certain ways. So although I think you can buy your tickets at the station itself, I'd highly advise that you do it in advance. We use the website called 12go.com or 12go.com. Otherwise, you risk not getting a good seat, and you're likely going to the only seats available will be in third class, which are upright, and a fan. So, and that would be for the entire trip, which would be awful for 11 hours, let me tell you. First class is 1,840 baht or $60 one way. Down here in a small bunk down here. This is looking outside to the door. This is looking inside. Again, it's first come, first serve, and you will share a room with someone. Second class is 1,094 baht, and this is air conditioned. This is $36 one way, so a huge price difference from first class. Scott and I did first class the first time last year, and then we did second class this time, and I prefer second class. Third class is dirt cheap, and that's a fan that's sitting upright the entire way, and that is 261 baht or $9. So there are bus options for around 750 baht or $25, but I would not go that route. I think the drivers are notoriously toked up on those long drives, and which can make them very unsafe. This is the Nong Khai train station. You can see it's open air. They have a convenience store, some small chips, some drinks to take with you if you want. The food vendors are on the outside across the street, but it's open air, and it's a little cool in the evening. And there's also a toilet that you have to pay to use if you need so. It's like 10 or 20 baht to use but they keep it pretty clean. So shortly after you get into the cart, some guy will come around and they'll scan your QR code from the ticket that you purchased. One of the workers will come around and he'll start making the bunks, the beds. So you're only sitting for a few minutes before the beds are being made if you're in a sleeping cart. To Bangkok, it was awfully noisy. The squeaking underneath the car. We were right at the end of the car where it connects to another car. So the joints that were squeaking all night, horrible looping sound over and over, and it was driving me crazy. So I didn't sleep at all. The other difficulty is that you shouldn't count on any Wi-Fi for 95% of the ride until you make the different stops. So be prepared to either read something, watch something download it on your phone, or meditate. The toilet at the end of the cart is very tiny. When you open it up, I can barely get into it, and the urinal is right there. So you got to be careful if you're sleepy. As the train is rocking, it will push you around. And you need your own paper basically. There's no bum gun. And the downside is it made me constipated, for your information. TMI. So generally the train is very clean. The pillow and towels smell good. The one good thing is you get to lay down for 11 hours even if you can't sleep. But it's relatively comfortable. So about an hour before the final destination and arrival into Bangkok, they will wake you up if you're not awake already, and then they will start putting the beds back into seats. And so you'll have to get up either way and then just sit there and watch and wait until you arrive. Timetable of these trains is impressive. They start on time and they arrive on time. I was looking for the dog that shit in my mouth because that tastes awful. When we bought our tickets, we wanted to get off at the Afiwat train station just because it's a little closer to town, but it wouldn't let me purchase that. We had to get off at the Don Muang. I'm going to show a few second clips here of the Don Muang train station versus the Afiwat. The Don Muang is open air and there's very little there to purchase or do and it's much warmer than the Afiwat. Afiwat is ice cold, but there's a lot more to offer there as far as food options, and it's just a lot more comfortable than sitting in the heat. So remember to take a sweatshirt before you depart, if you're departing from Afiwat. So when we exited the train in Don Muang, it was pitch black and we didn't know where to go or how to exit. Fortunately, a random lady helped guide us to the stairs, escalators, well, it's actually stairs going down to the road, and there were a few taxis there waiting. This was actually much easier to get a taxi here at the Don Muang than it was at the Afiwat last year, because we had to wait in a long queue of passengers outside the station, and I was surprised with how few taxis there were available and how slowly they trickled in to pick up passengers. So unless you are an extremely tight budget or a hardcore backpacker, you have a home to go to, you basically have to pay for another night at hotel the day you arrive, so you can go straight there. Otherwise, if you don't book the day before, you'll have to wait around until 2 p.m. when you can check in at your hotel. And that, after a long sleepless night, you feel dirty, you're tired, you're to go someplace to clean up and just rest a little bit until the day started. So we arrived at our hotel about 20 minutes later, and just before the Bangkok traffic started picking up for the morning rush hour for work. So we got at our hotel. It was located in Satporn. We paid $54 a night for this, that including taxes. And it was just nice to lay down, get a shower, and rest a little bit before Todd's doctor appointment. And then we walked around outside and we found a little cafe we've never seen before, just down the road from the hotel, which was really nice. We sat there and enjoyed a breakfast together and just did something that we normally wouldn't do. So that's one of the things I'm enjoying more about retirement, traveling around and not feeling rushed, except for the doctor appointment or to be at the train station. This is what travel feels like once you're no longer rushing through life. One thing I'm learning about retirement is that travel doesn't always have to be getting somewhere quickly. When my whole life was around just getting things done, deadlines, timelines, gotta be here, gotta be there. Sometimes the slower route turns out to be a more interesting one. This train trip from Vientiane to Bangkok took longer than flying, but it actually gave us a chance to relax, see some more of the countryside, and just enjoy the journey a bit more. If you've taken the train before, or if you prefer a slower travel over flying, I'd be curious to hear what your experience is in the comments. So this is a detailed overview of what the cost comparison looks like between taking the train versus flying. So the bottom line is you can look through these particular costs. Of course, there's a couple variable costs in here. I've included the cost of the hotel in the train section because you're going to need a hotel to go to when you arrive. Depending on your hotel, of course, that's going to change. The other thing that might change is the snack cost, but the rest are pretty set regardless of who you are and how many you are. So this is per person. So for the train, the total was $112 one way. A flight would be around $237 one way. Again, if you're going a return, you just double that. So it is about 53% cheaper, or $125 to take the train. However, the train, you're looking at 15 to 20 hours potentially, depending on how long you wait at the station, of travel. The flying is 5 hours, an hour to the airport, an hour, 2 hours sitting inside, an hour flight to Laos, and then or to Udon, to the border, and then an hour maximum to your final destination. So clearly, the train is cheaper, but only really if you have the time, or if you're really hard bent on saving $125. $125 is nothing to scoff at. I would save that if I can, but when I was working, there was just no way I could do it. So tell me what you think. How many of you have ever traveled over land through Thailand or to the border? I'd love to hear your thoughts. With the gas prices changing now, I'm not sure what this is going to look like right now. We are coming into a gas shortage, but let me know what you think. Thanks to everybody for watching. I'd love for you to subscribe, give me a big like, and take care. God bless, and take it slow.